Oh, and by the way, you can chat to me if you need to say anything to me. You can actually pop it. You'll notice you'll notice on the right there's a public chat and there's a guest chat. So if you want to chat to me only, then you just click on guest chat or private chat or whatever. Like you want to tell me to, well, I don't know. What? Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening and good morning to whoever's on the other side of the world. Here we are on Freedom Friday, and today we're going to have Tony Knight, and who's going to talk to us about the philosophy and spirituality and psychology, those more kind of esoteric aspects. Esoteric aspects of of money, abundance, and then how decentralization and cryptocurrency fit into this whole picture. And and so in the end, I think what we are hoping to get from today is to understand the why of this whole thing. Why are we doing this? Why am I pursuing this? Why am I interested anyway? And the why of the why that will carry you through all the obstacles that may be in the way as we go down this path. So thanks for coming, Tony. Can we do a sound check? Are you all good with the sound?
Yep,
Good.
yep. Good to see you. Good to see everyone.
Yeah.
To be here again.
Yes. And okay. So and please feel free to say hi as you come on. Just pop it in the chat. If you're in YouTube, just pop it on the right side there. You'll see the chat. Say hello to, if you're from other parts of the world. Yeah, feel free to tell us where you're from. And if you're on Facebook, we can't actually see who you are by name. So if you want to give us your name, that's great. Blair, hi Blair. Oh, we've got someone on YouTube there. Okay, well, Tony, fire away. I'll leave the floor to you, and and chip in whenever. So
Okay. Thanks,
yeah.
Gerald. Yep. Good to see you, Blair. Good to see everybody else. Anyone else that's taking the time out of your day. I'm going to talk a bit about how spirituality and blockchain and crypto is actually related. I think that um, everything in life, everything in the physical life is very much related to the spiritual life, because spiritual or spirituality or spirit is really just energy, and it's from the spiritual realms that everything in the physical was created. So it kind of makes sense that everything that we're dealing with, including money, currency, finances, our physical life, our body, it's all a part of spirit. It's not separate. Everything is energy, just resonating at different frequencies, different octaves, different vibrations. Everything is vibrating, and it's just that in the physical reality, it's vibrating a bit slower. That's all. When it comes to money, currency, finances, often a lot of people separate that from other aspects of life. They separate it from their spirituality, particularly. And so I just like to demystify or debunk a few belief systems that I know I've had, and a lot of people do. So when we talk about when we start entering into the spiritual realms, I like to ask questions, where questions kind of help to lead us to logical answers. And probably the biggest question we can ask is why. Why are we here? Uh, why are we wanting to get into this crypto thing? Why do we want to earn money? What is wealth? Why have wealth? And so I think it's important for us to maybe consider why you're doing this, and also there's two other key questions as well. I like to do things in threes. The whole universe, our world, is created on the basis of three key things make up life, and we can break that down into any area of life. And when it comes to that, I like to ask three key questions. Obviously, why, also what, and how. So what is, like, I see what as our vision. That's what we want to create in our physical life. That's our end game, as to how it would look like. What do we want our life to look like? What is our vision? What do we want in life? Where do we want to end up? How will it look? What will you be doing? How will you be living? And so I think that this is very it's very sorry. It's very much related to our why, because they're obviously very interconnected. But why is really like our purpose. It's not really a material thing. It's more of it's an energetic thing. It's the impact that we want to sort of make in the world. And the other key question in this particular instance, in this scenario I'm giving, is how, because the how is related to the nuts and bolts. The how is related to the money, to the blockchain, to crypto, because this is a vehicle. This is the vehicle of how we can get to our vision and achieve our why, achieve our purpose. And maybe we could just take a couple of minutes, if you've got some pen and paper handy, maybe just write down what is your why, what is your vision that you would like to see in your world, and how are you going to do it? Well, obviously we're talking about that. So, but there's other, within the how is also the plan. You can also think about, well, what is my plan in my crypto mission? What is your plan? How are you going to do it? How much money are you going to allocate? What are you going to buy? These sort of things. That's something that you can do in your own time. But I think maybe now just take maybe a couple of minutes. We can just go into a little meditative state and think about, okay, why do you want money? Why do you want to earn money? What are you going to do with it? So I will just we'll just sit in a bit of silence for a couple of minutes and have a ponder of that, and also think about no, forget that. Just let's just have a couple of minutes in silence. Maybe if you've got a pen and paper handy, you might want to write a couple of notes down, and you can maybe do something more in depth later after this if you get if you get the chance and the inclination. Okay, hopefully that's enough time for, I often find that whatever comes in first is usually what is your most important thing. What pops into your mind in the first instance is usually very close to what you're going to carry on to create. So yeah. So also, in this, we can ask other questions like who is very important as well. Who can be also, could be very deep, like who are we, which is obviously very connected to our spiritual life, because ultimately who we are is virtually an unknown. It's like we can't physically um, come up with we can't come up with a physical. We're not like this body, and I'm not Tony Knight, but who are we in the ultimate sense? Really, we are, ultimately just energy. But when it comes to crypto, when it comes to doing a business, it's very important to know who we are in our skill set, um, what our talents are, what our greatest loves and interest is, because this is all connected to the what and the why and the how as well, because you can then allocate various tasks to others who are maybe better at that than you. Um, who is a very deep question, and then we could look at, when we're investing in cryptos, well, who's behind the project? Do you know who they are? Can we get access to them? So the applications of the questions can be applied in many different ways, and I can leave that up to your imagination. Also, where are we going is also another kind of directional question to do with our vision. Where do we want to end up? And I could go into really abstract, like where are we in time right now in the world? Where is the world right now is a fairly key question, because we're obviously at a very critical junction. Not the purpose of this discussion, but it's still good to let your mind wander on all these questions. And also, there's also the when question. When are we? When are we going to start? When are we going to do certain tasks? And this is where planning comes in. We can plan all this stuff out. So that's kind of like setting us up. We're sort of asking these questions at the beginning. If anyone wants to comment I don't know, Gerald, are people able to actually audibly speak, or is it only through the chat? Uh, Gerald, are you able to?
They can pop something in the chat. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. If you have any questions or any comments, and on this particular topic, if there's something you'd like to ask on this topic, please feel free to put it in the chat.
Yep. So now, so moving on from that, we're talking about spirituality. We talk about having, being lit up by spirit. I feel very inspired. The word inspired actually comes from the two words inspirited. Uh, and I was really taken with that. I actually had a business called Inspirited Investments at once when I was doing property. And I didn't ask any of these questions at the beginning, and I went off in all directions. I seriously went off in all directions. And, it's even like when you're driving a car. If you've noticed, if you've never committed to your mind, where are you going and what's your destination, you can often drift off and take the wrong turn, or you can end up in the wrong. You can literally, you kind of go into autopilot. And so when it comes to um, coming back to the money is energy, currency is energy, and so really the goal here is not money. The goal is actually not money. It's part of the how. The goal is really your purpose, your vision, your why. But the money is important because it sits in the middle. It's the medium of exchange. It's the tool. It's the tool which we use. Just like we use a spade to dig a garden, it's the tool we use to create our vision, uh, or to create why we're here. And so I love crypto because, hey, old friend popped up then. Good to see you, mate. How's it going? Yeah, so crypto. The word crypto comes from the word encrypted. I know some people make comments about, oh, crypto, that's for the crypt, and it's where you put the dead and all that. Well, yeah, that's one application. And when I get sort of replies like that, I think, well, you haven't really explored the word, what really encryption really is. But it's about privacy, it's about security, it's about being able to transact in in privacy, not completely secret. It's not completely secret. It's just about obviously, because you need transparency as well. So you need the appropriate privacy, and we need transparency. But when we have the current money system that we have today, we haven't got any privacy at all, nothing. And there's no transparency being given to us by centralized control. This is why we look at blockchain and crypto based on decentralization, which affords us a lot more of that transparency and privacy, because of the nature of the code, because of the way it's created. So really, crypto, money, currency, it's all really a means of exchanging energy. And if we're exchanging debt, or we're exchanging a piece of paper that's worthless, we're actually not exchanging a hell of a lot of energy. Actually, nothing really at this point. Once cash was king, I'd say cash is more like trash right now, and it's only been propped up by artificial means. It's when it blows, it's going to blow big, and it's gonna cause a lot of upset in the world. So for those who think that money is not important, when with the world that we're entering into, if you've got no money, you're going to be very exposed, and you're going to be very dependent. You're going to be very dependent on whatever the government, whatever money that they're going to offer you in the next system, which is going to be their form of it's their digital money is coming. That's not cryptocurrency, by the way. That's the digital money is another form of centralized money. It's just going to be another one-way street. But I believe that we've got the opportunity now to create our life, our reality, our businesses on a decentralized blockchain. It's happening at lightning speed, and this is where we have to protect what assets or what wealth we've got left somehow, uh, because otherwise we'll just be exposed. Um, so if we're exposed on that level, we're not going to have any energy. We're not going to have any energy left. We're going to be completely bereft of energy, which means we haven't got the energy we need to the other aspects of our life, like spirituality, or like you know, uh, realizing our purpose, realizing our vision, realizing our why.
So, Tony, how do you see decentralization as as an expression on this spiritual continuum? Uh, yeah, how do you see it as expressing something that's evolutionary?
Um, because of its nature of distribution, because it's creating a more solid foundation, because it's giving us more tools in which we can then conserve our energy, because we're not having to have so much of our energy harvested. So
Right.
I see it as like a foundation that's, blockchain is something that's sort of it seems very abstract and nebulous, but it's actually creating something that's very kind of I say solid, but it's quite it's solid in the sense that the decentralized code and the smart contracts and the way it operates affords us a lot of certainty. It provides more trust. It provides more. We can have more faith in the system because we know from past experience how it works. It's
Mm,
predictable,
mm, mm.
and so it cuts into a lot of aspects that we a lot of areas of our life get wasted because we've got misspent responsibility, misspent trust. It's going into the ether, if you like.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to governments, it's going to people that we don't even know what they're
Yeah.
doing. And
So
so that's
yeah,
sucking us dry
sure.
of energy.
So do you think that it's do you think that it's a question of freedom? Like, centralization, historically we see that the more centralization there is, the more it encroaches on our freedom, and we feel stifled or in our ability to express ourselves and do what we want and work what we want to work on, and all those things. And do you see that decentralization is going to give back the freedom, because it enables us to uh, invest freely in what we want. It enables to do business with whoever freely and all those things. Do you see that as a major factor too?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, in our name, DeFi Freedom, obviously
Yeah.
I see that as the end game. I see that as the ultimate outcome. And freedom, again, is on many levels, but we need all the elements together. I think ultimately, yes, but I think it's going to be an evolution.
Mm.
It's not going to be a quick fix because
Yeah.
obviously the powers that be have been here for many, many, many generations, and they're all following the playbook that has been laid out to them by previous generations. I mean, I've done a lot of research on how the matrix, if you like, has been created, and there's already a two-tier system. There's the system that the 1% follow, and then the 99% follow the system that they create. But they live by a completely different set of rules. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. Freedom also gets very maligned. I notice a lot of comments now where people see us, if we're standing up for freedom, people see that as we're standing up for our own personal kind of um, ego almost. It's like, oh
Right.
well,
Yeah.
we need the collective good right now. We've got to
Mm,
forego. I see comments from within my own family who are saying we should give up our human rights for the greater collective good, and that is probably one of the biggest and most dangerous belief systems I think you can have,
mm, mm.
because by giving up our individual rights, um, then we're allowing this centralized body, uh, via the government, via the financial institutions, to basically do to us whatever they will. Uh, the collective good comes from individuals becoming conscious and uniting. That
Yeah.
creates the
Yeah.
ultimate collective good because it is grounded in our earth through our God given rights. To
Yeah.
give those away is like giving the crown jewels away. That's the way I see it.
Mm.
So
Sure.
freedom is very inherent in if we're truly conscious of who we are, coming back to questions again, and what we're doing here on the planet, we will value those rights and we will share those rights. We will share that freedom that we gain from that. We will unite with others of the same and that same vibration. We talk about energy again, comes back to vibration and frequency. When you're resonating at a certain frequency, you'll always do the right thing by your fellow man and woman. So
Yeah.
to have a faceless body or a government telling you that you should do this because we said so, because there's a virus apparently out there which no one has actually isolated. So because that's fundamentally flawed, it's based on a untruth. Um, they can then stack all these other laws on top. It's like building a house on quicksand. It's not based on truth. It's based on a belief, on a narrative that is false. It's just completely false. And so because people believe that there's a virus out there there is something out there that people can catch, but there's the flu out there as well. So is there all sorts of other diseases out there as well that people actually die from. They seem to have forgotten about that. So,
Yes.
you know, this is all tied into the money system is actually central to health, to the politics, to every area of life is revolves around the financial system. It is what creates the matrix. And the other thing too about energy and centralization is if our money and through all these taxes and through the way the employee system is created, where we work really hard, and then our money is siphoned off through tax, and it's been inflated away. Whatever else is left is inflated away. Well, if we've got no money to really do anything,
Mm, yeah.
where has the money gone? Well, obviously, to have nothing and be happy is a complete misnomer. So if you've got nothing, who has got it all? and
Yes.
and that's a problem, right? Because when all the wealth is held there, then we are like a powerless. We're at their mercy. We're
Yeah.
completely at their mercy. So this
Yeah.
is not about getting rich in monetary. This is not about having money just for money's sake. It's a, it's about having um, e- e- equanimity,
Yeah.
equality,
So,
and
so
that's where
you.
decentralized comes in, because the system itself,
Yeah.
what's baked into the system is I wouldn't say it's perfect. It's not going to be perfect, but it's a whole lot better than what we've got, and it will help to create an like
Yeah,
I
equitable.
struggle with that word
Yeah,
for some reason. Equity,
yeah,
equity and equanimity is very related. And when we talk about equity, we talk about money and wealth, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
this is what we need.
So I
Equ-
suppose like energy, wealth cannot really be destroyed. It just moves from one place to another. So if through the debasement of our currency, that means the way it's kind of losing its value. You've got $100 today, and you go and do some shopping, and then or let's say you had it in 2019, and you went and did $100 worth of shopping. You got a whole trolley full, and now when you go and do your shopping with $100, you get half a trolley full, and so obviously something is happening, and your $100 is not buying as much. So if that means I'm being impoverished, that means I'm becoming poorer, because even though I earn $100, whatever work I do, I can't buy as much. So obviously that money that's disappeared from my purchasing power must have gone somewhere, and it's improved somebody else's purchasing power, right? And so I think that it seems to me that what the design of the blockchain and what people seem to be working on is, okay, how do we return the purchasing power back to everybody so that everybody can access it, whether you're out in Mongolia, or in the African bush, or Southeast Asia, or even the middle of Europe, right? So everyone has an equal opportunity to access that wealth, which I think is the big spiritual, for me anyway, is the big spiritual evolution.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Inflation is another form of tax that is
Mm,
designed and built into their system, just like decentralization is baked into the blockchain. Well, the centralized system, what they've got baked in is to ensure that inflation happens, debt is created. Every time they create a dollar, so is a dollar of debt, and we are the guarantors of that debt. So
mm,
that's a double, triple, quadruple when you add in fractional reserve banking as well, where they take our money and then loan it out 100 times.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is allowing them to take all our money and then use that to make more money, which we never get to participate in until now. With DeFi, we can put our own crypto to work, just like banks do with our money when we give it away to them. We can do it for ourselves in an encrypted, private, transparent way. So that's huge, and crypto is quite inflation proof. It's actually deflationary, uh,
Mm,
and it's also got the added bonus of being growth orientated. If it's a really great utility token, it's going to have growth because it's being used in the world to solve real world problems. And the
well,
biggest
yeah.
in the earth is lack of energy. You
Mm,
can't think to save yourself without energy. If you don't have
yeah,
energy, you don't have physical health. If you don't have energy, you're going to be emotionally imbalanced.
yeah.
If you
You
don't have
can't think straight. Yeah,
no, yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah, actually, and as you say, it's offering a lot of opportunity. Like, for instance, what I'm hearing, for instance, is that um, in Southeast Asia, for example, businesses are able to trade between countries with no they're trading using crypto, and there's no boundaries, because the crypto transfers are instant, and there's no one stopping them. And so it's helping to open up finance, business, trade, transactions throughout the world without the constraints of the traditional financial system, and the censorship and the controls.
exactly.
So
Another
yeah,
feature, you bring up another good point, another feature of decentralization or just crypto in general is
yeah,
the peer-to-peer economy without middlemen. Now,
mm,
there's another thing where we're getting harvested. There's another form of tax, is bank fees and
mm,
financial fees. and it's slow and expensive, and that is literally sucking out of circulation billions, billions. Some people reckon it's hundreds of billions a day, because it all adds up. So we don't notice it because it's only a relatively small amount, although it can annoy us. Yeah, but when you add it all up across all the people in the world, because a lot of money is always moving around the world, it adds up to a huge amount of money, which is feathering their nest, the central banker's nest, and it's literally drip, 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 draining us dry. Yeah. So you've got fees are another thing that are often overlooked. All these things that are hidden in plain sight, they're right in front of our face, like inflation. And people go, "Oh, the price has gone up." No, the price hasn't gone up. The value of your money has gone down, and that's happening at a rapid rate now because they're printing more money than they ever have in the entire existence of our world. So it's really accelerated because COVID and the amount of money printing and government loaning, again, they do it with impunity. They do it with absolute no responsibility because it's not their money, it's our money.
Yeah.
And it's totally connected to our spirituality and our ability to create, you know. It's our ability to create and to feed our families and to have a roof over our head. This whole housing crisis is another manufactured crisis through the system. It's systemic. It's inherent in the system. It's designed. They never will be able to fix this housing crisis with the current financial system that we have. And poverty will never. They have got no interest in getting the poor more wealthy. They've got no interest at all. They love everything is divide, and this is what comes into my next point. I was going to mention about the Hermetic laws. The Hermetic laws are fundamental laws because they basically never change. They are true laws, as in not like our legal system laws. I'm talking about nature or universal laws. And these are the first law is the law of mentalism, that everything in the universe is mental. And what they mean by that when they talk about mentalism or mental, they don't talk about just our little mind, our brain. They're talking about the whole world is essentially self-creating via spiritual energy. That is what creates us. That's what sustains us. And that is what is in every single living atom and every single living cell of our body is this kind of mental, this is their old language. It really is spirit. Um, and so that permeates everything. So if everything is coming from that source, that kind of mental, spiritual source, then that's true who we truly are. But on that note, also within our minds and what we think, this is why thoughts and what's in our mind and how our mental body operates is so important. Because when we are in tune, when we're in tune with ourselves and the universe, we can become super creators because we start aligning with that mental universe that Hermes was talking about, or Thoth. He's also known as Thoth. And this is the number one law because this is the source of everything. And then there's the next law is the law of correspondence, which is as above, so below, as within, so without. And so what that's basically saying that you could take this as above, so below on many levels. As above in our head, so below in our body. What you are thinking in your head is going to help manifest your body. And also as a below, so above, like what we feel in our gut can be translated into what's in our head. But on a bigger level, what what's happening in the heavens is also happening on earth, and vice versa. And so if we are having our energy drained down here, you can be sure that it's affecting somewhere else in the universe, because everything is connected by energy. It's a whole matrix, living matrix of an energetic web. And we are like a little, you can say, like we're a little spider that's in that web. But whatever we think, whatever we feel, whatever we do down here is creating ripples of energy out everywhere, to other people, to the earth itself, and up into the heavens. But
Yeah.
the other law I was going to mention,
Yeah.
I'll just finish this off and
Sure.
then we can
Sure.
do another, is the law of polarity, the law of
Mm.
duality. And this is what's playing out big time on the
Yeah.
earth right now. And so we get divided by, left and right. We get divided by, look at it. We got the vaxxed and the unvaxxed. We got the poverty and the rich. We've got the law of polarity is it's splitting our mind in two. And so we cannot create to save ourselves when we're in bouncing between pillar and post. When we are not aligned in ourselves, when we have not yet reconciled what they call reconciled the opposites. So that takes a third thing, a third principle has to come in. Otherwise, if we are only seeing black and white, evil and good, and all of that, we are always going to be easily controlled. And around money is another area where we get this is what's happening is we're getting polarized, and we see it with the haves and the have-nots. And so we have to find a way to balance the poles.
Mm.
Otherwise, we become polarized. And when we
Yeah.
become polarized, we're easily manipulated.
Sure.
And so we've got to get our power back through that.
But that's a fine balance, isn't it? Because I find that a lot of people are becoming cynical. They're becoming suspicious. They're becoming, anxious about, oh, they're gonna get me, and I'm worried about whoever it is, whoever this super tech giant. They're watching me, but then we then end up being afraid and being critical of everything that happens around us. And so how do we balance that out? That
Yeah,
cynicism and fear.
very good question. Very good question. Through, well, some would say through love, but even then, fear is just the other side of the coin of love. And
Mm.
a lot of people misinterpret what love is. Love, on a deepest level, is energy as well. It's what love is, what sustains the universe and keeps us, in perfect harmony and balance. But I would say responsibility, taking responsibility is a big factor. I say that having good intentions with the right attention and the right actions. Another trinity. You can find trinities throughout the whole, through everywhere, and I think it comes with us claiming our our own inherent, um, God-given right of being here, and again coming back to why, what, who, how, and when, where. Come back to the questions you can ask yourself. Well, why are you in fear? And what creates fear? Fear is usually present when misunderstanding or lack of understanding is present, or when lack of knowledge of yourself internally and externally. And that knowledge can apply here to the blockchain, to money, to what's happening in the world. There's a certain amount of knowledge that you need inside and out in order to be able to then find in your mind the ability to balance those poles. So fear is the absence of energy. or it is a type of energy in itself, very low frequency energy, but it's the absence of something that is needing. Uh, it needs to be uh, paired with other attributes like responsibility, uh, like trust, not trust in the government, trust in self, uh, and love, self love. Uh, but I think the key one is responsibility, taking responsibility for your actions, taking responsibility for yourself, and taking responsibility for the world the way it is, and doing what little bit you can do in your world to make your immediate environment less fearful and more energetic, more loving. You know,
Mm.
does that answer?
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a big
How does that
subject.
answer?
We could
It
we could
is.
talk about this
Yeah, we could
for
we could go
ages.
down lots of rabbit holes.
Yeah,
In fact, Richard has asked a question. I don't know whether it's the right time or we talk to it later. He's asking us about Daisy Launchpad and what's happening there. Do you think that fits in right now? Do you want to talk about it later or?
yeah. Maybe let's put that at the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see his question
No,
in the
no.
chat? Go to guest chat on the right. Guest chat or whatever.
Oh, it's just a little. It's a little.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I see it now. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't agree with that at all. But I'm not going to. Well, that we're talking about fear, and I think there's a bit of fear there. But nah, I'm not even going to answer that because again, knowledge. We've done a lot of knowledge on Daisy. This is a rebrand. It's just a rebrand to separate. I don't think that there's any need to get concerned on that point at all. When we got to understand, we got to understand who Daisy are and how far they've come. To call it a rug pull is a very big call.
Okay, Ray is asking, what is the bank you told us about, please? When did we tell you about this bank? Was it today or? Okay, we're gonna. Actually, this is for Sunday. If you received our emails, please open the emails that we send to you. We actually try not to spam. Well, we don't spam at all. And so if what I'm trying to say is that if you see an email from us, yeah, take a minute to have a look. It's usually to let you know that we are doing a seminar or we're doing a live stream. And so the one that we are doing on Sunday will be about the bank that we told you about. Yeah, I think Ray is asking us about UG Pay. So we'll talk about that on Sunday at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, on Sunday we're going to do a deep dive into one of our projects, which we can become truly our own bank. We can have our own bank that's not part of the cabal bank. We can literally earn crypto, spend crypto, convert it to fiat if we want. We can do that all in our own ecosystem, and it's very inspiring. Again, it's an evolution. Everything's an evolution, including Daisy and Hyperfund and all the projects we're in. I think that people, people will do what they want to do. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I only act on what I think is right. Nothing is ever going to come off 100%. But when it comes to creating our own, people-based system or ecosystem, that's obviously a huge thing. And this would take decades to fully roll out till we fully uh, are truly immune from any of nefarious stuff. There's always going to be scammers out there, and there's always going to be people with low consciousness. You know, we just got to make sure that we are not falling for that. So, yeah, I think
Yeah.
come along on Sunday and you can at least see
Yeah.
what has been building for 10 years now. This is a 10 years in the making.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I've been
and
using some of it, and I think it's really exciting. You know, I actually used that bank to a certain extent, not fully,
yeah,
but what I see in there is actually, I think, has a lot of potential for all of us to free ourselves up and have our own bank account in our own bank, that no one needs to pry into. So
that's
yeah,
exactly right. And not only is it a bank we use, it's a bank that we partially co-own.
that's correct.
That
Yes,
is like game-changing stuff where have a vested stake in what we are using. And there's nothing more powerful than being vested into a banking situation, which has been designed for our benefit, not for our detriment. Um, yeah, so basically, I also was talking about those threes, talking about how we can, spot how can we try and protect ourselves from fear, or how can we be sure that we're heading in the right direction? Well, I think that we can look at tools like the technology. I think of what decentralization and blockchain is offering gives us a very important tool. But like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. A gun can kill someone, or it could be used to protect yourself from someone who's trying to kill you. So I think to quote some more trinities, as I call them, or trinitaries, um, foundation, and you could say the foundation is blockchain or DeFi. Um, we could have and freedom as an outcome, and you could say consciousness or co-creative consciousness is something that might appeal to someone. Or we could have a trinity of technology, spirituality, and physical health, which was also physical wealth. Um, Physical health is actually worth touching on. I think it's very important that we look after our body, that we put good food in our body, we have sufficient water, that we are taking attention to our breath, maybe doing some meditation, having having just taking care of ourselves like that. Also, family, your family or your home environment, looking after the energy in your home is obviously very important. And of course, having some financial assets, or having an income, often that very affects the home life and your physical health. If you're always having to struggle with money, I often see it where people's health is low, their mindset is often usually a bit low, and they're stressed, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in a downward way, or we can create a self-fulfilling prophecy in an upward trend. So physical health and wealth is another foundation. It's another, without a healthy body and without a healthy finances, we leave ourselves open to being subjected to other things that we otherwise wouldn't want to attract in our life. Like attracts like. So if you've got an unhealthy body, you've probably got other unhealthy areas of your life. The trinity I use in my Earth Star business, I have a business called Earth Star. Two sides to Earth Star. There's Earth Star Freedom, which is about talking about the elements, earth, air, fire, water, and ether, and how to apply those to your life, and finding freedom within how we can actually construct a lifestyle where all the elements are being paid heed to, where we're paying attention to the earthly, the watery, air and fire and ether aspects of our life. So, as a quick analogy, like we can equate the earth to our foundation, um, to our physical, say, to our physical life, to the structures that we have in our life, to our home. And water is often attributed to money, actually, because water is like money. It's supposed to flow. It's not supposed to be stagnant. Water is also often attributed to emotion, and so it's very important to have to be open and emotionally available, but not getting skewed by just being all emotion uh, and getting emotionally distraught, and that's where fear comes in. So about balancing your waters, balancing your emotions. And then the air element is very much about your mind and what you're thinking and what you're creating in your mind, where you spend a lot of your mind, imagination. So that's the more higher aspect of mind. So imagination is very powerful. What you imagine the most is what you will create. So again, so be careful what you're thinking, because prolonged thinking is imagination. Thoughts and constantly tending on to one type of topic. You are imagining what you are thinking. And fire is about our passion. It's also related to our soul. As opposed to spirit, it's a bit different. The soul is our indwelling spirit, you could say, but our soul is connected to that great spirit that pervades the universe, and we are here in a physical body because of our soul, because our soul has created this, and so that's often related to our heart and our passion, what lights us up. Being enlightened comes from that. Um, and then the ether is like the mental universe we talked about before. The ether is the source. It is the ultimate matrix, energetic matrix, the ultimate, you could say, God, if you wanted, or um, Native Indians called it Great Spirit, or you could call it the Chi energy or Ki energy if Japanese. So this this is what Earth Star is about, Earth Star Freedom. And then I have a sales business selling food, spices, dried herbs and spice, ground herbs, and different quality foods. So that fits in with my values. I did quite well out of that business because I had my passion in it, because it helped to create me a nice lifestyle. It brought in some money flow for me. It stimulated my mind and gave me a foundation. So that's sort of like a quick, you know, so the idea is to do what you love what you do, and if you're not loving what you do, I suggest change. Find something that you do love,
Yeah.
and uh, and don't love money. Love what money can bring. Love the ultimate purpose. Love your vision, right? Not just love the money. Yet we just see it as the tool.
Sure. Yeah, well, that sounds great. You've mentioned quite a number of aspects there. So how would someone start? You know, sometimes we tend to over focus on one side or the other. So how would you suggest someone would start looking at themselves in this kind of holistic way? Do they start from the grounded side, from their body, for instance, or from the mental side? or in between?
Both.
Yeah.
um, Ground up, top down, integrative approach, holistic approach. It's and both and all of it, and also
Mm.
left mind and emotion with physicality and spirit. But if I'd start from anywhere, it would probably be with where you are now in your body and in your immediate environment. Um,
Yeah. So Ray said intuition. So maybe your intuition can guide you into where
yes,
directions you go, which you need really.
yes, yeah, you could come from many different starting points, and it will depend on your personality. Because this could get really deep. I could go into a lot of information about the elements. We're all going to have a predisposition to. We're going to have a strength in one of those, or maybe two of those elements, particularly. Um, we're either going to be very much in our mind, we're very much in touch with our emotions, we might be very physical focused, detailed, usually they're very detailed people, or you could be very much about the heart and about the big picture and your soul and spirit and all that. So I think that it's a good idea to start with what your strength is, what your who you are as a natural being. But I think the ultimate is we need to balance up all the elements. We need to if our mind is our weaker spot, we need to shore that up. So start doing things like reading books, writing. These all things that stimulate the mind. Or if we need more emotion, more emotional aspect, we need to get more in tune with that and be more communicative with our partner, listen to what is being said, get in tune with nature. um, or if we need more on the physical side, we need to look at that and build our infrastructure, get more content focused rather than context focused.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, have a great weekend, Richard, and thanks for your question. We were not ganging up on you, but it was a very it's a valid question because obviously it was something that was bothering you. But I really hope, Richard, that we can show that this is really a project that has got legs, and that that has got integrity around it. So I think if we keep positive around that, you know,
They've
I'm
done
just
a
yeah,
video on
yeah,
it. They've
yeah,
been very open and transparent. They've already done a video about it, told us what they're doing, and it's just a rebrand.
yeah, yeah,
The IT guy presented it, and there is a conversation they've had with another girl who's working with them. So I just think it's just a matter of knowing what you own and watching enough of the videos and reading up about it and getting to understand the whole project inside out.
yeah. Cool.
Mm. So yeah, that's pretty much the basis of what I was going to say. If there's any other comments, or anything you want to mention, Gerald, just to finish off, so we finish off on a
No,
good
no.
one.
Yeah. So yeah, but basically, I believe, and this is something that I've just coming back to the fear and cynicism thing. um, I, I found in my life, even though I've been in troubled areas, in troubled parts of certain cities and things like that, I managed to keep away from violence and things like that. And I'm not a person who really thinks much about violence, so I'm just wondering whether that's evidence that not thinking much about violence doesn't bring much violence to you. Someone can prove me otherwise. But the point I'm trying to say is that I think what you think about most whether it's you think about positive, if you think about things positively. So if you look at a particular event and you interpret it positively, if you're that kind of person, I feel that your life tends to become a, a series of positive events. And if you put a negative spin on whatever happens, your life tends to become a series of dramas and, you know, all sorts of things happening to you. And so what I'm trying to say is that if we are wanting to tap into abundance, into what this whole decentralization thing is offering us, it's offering us freedom and it's offering us the ability to participate. It's really important for us to be aware of what we're thinking and how we're responding to situations, so that we remain open to, as Tony said, the energy, because it's all about energy. So if we remain open to energy, then we remain open to the flow of energy. And basically, I'm kind of finding that abundance and good health, wealth and health are just flow of energy. So, you know, does that make sense, Tony? What I'm saying? That
Yeah, it does.
how
There's
you think? Yeah.
a couple of things I'll put in there is, I'm a pretty positive person, and
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean I haven't had negative things happen in my life.
Sure.
But we can be a bit of a Pollyanna, and I think we've got to be very
Yep.
careful not, it's everything's positive in that, but you're not actually paying attention to these recurring things that are coming in your life. So yeah, be positive and see a silver lining. But I think it's also important when you talk about, what we generally think about, we bring about. I agree, but we
Mm,
also need to be aware of what we're not thinking about. That also creates, and so
mm,
that's where it's harder to. We need to look at what's in our subconscious. What's just in our conscious is the only 5% or if that of our actual mind computing power, because the mind is like a kind of a computer. And it's important that we address all the different elements in our life and look at recurring patterns. Because if things are continually happening, if someone's always at us, if we see ourselves as a peaceful person, but we are having violence subjected to us, then we need to look at that and we
mm.
need to look at
Yep.
why.
Yep.
Because I think too many people can be kind of just go do the ostrich head in the sand thing and go deny, well, that's not me. I'm always a positive person. That's their problem. And that
Yep.
is
Yep.
not. And so we have to also, we have to look at what we're not as well as who we are.
Sure.
And we have to play with both sides. This is how I balance the polarities. What I do is before I have if I want to do a business idea or if I want to look at anything, I embody it. I think about it. I'll feel into it. I'll take some action to see now what comes back, and I will meditate on it as well. And so it's not just about firing off, having a great idea, thinking it's your intuition maybe, and then it falls flat. You think, oh, that's that's all their fault.
Yeah.
Actually, you've got to embody what you do, and you've got to take action, and then you've got to test and measure. And sometimes this can take some
Mm,
time before,
mm.
and we can apply this to issues, personal issues, emotions, things that are going wrong in our life as well. We can
Mm.
take that responsibility that I talked about and go, well, that's happened to me, so I've got to take responsibility for that
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. I agree with you. So I may have got the bit about the violence not too bad, you know. But there are other areas of my life where I had repeated issues, repeated patterns, and it took me several decades to realize that there was a mindset behind those repeated patterns. So like you say, sometimes you can avoid the responsibility by blaming it on something else. You know, you can blame your poverty on your parents, or, you know, the bloomin' so and so kept me suppressed or oppressed or whatever. And but if it keeps repeating, I think, and what I discovered personally, what was around poverty and around poverty consciousness was actually, I was actually repeating, not taking responsibility for the actual thoughts that were bringing those patterns back again. So that's the hard part, I think, for a lot of people. It becomes easy to be a victim, you know, and say, well, somebody else victimized me. But the hardest part I think in our spiritual life is actually to take responsibility for all of our life, all the so-called abuses or oppressions or suppressions or unfortunate tragedies or whatever, and say, well, I can take responsibility for how I respond to situations from now on, and I can change my story from now on. And if I've been poor for 50 years, I can change that story as well from now on.
Yep, absolutely. The other thing that comes to mind when you're talking is I see a lot of people who are self-described as spiritual people, and they are not taking any responsibility at all for the physical side of their life. And their life is constant one. I've known so many people, excuse me, so many people in my life who, you know, I've been around a lot of spiritual personal development. You know, I had a spiritual crystal shop for many years, and I was one myself where, you know, it was very like, I create my own reality, and but in complete denial of what's happening in the physical reality, and kind of tended to float. I mean, sort of like this floaty, everything's wonderful, I'm on my little spiritual cloud. And all those people who, you know, they're not really, they're not spiritual like us. And then when it comes to money, it's like, oh, who needs money? I've got my spirituality. And I think that's a big mistake, because I've seen those people are often the most unhappy, most chaotic life. And I was one. I'm being very honest and open here. I had a very chaotic life. I lived hand to mouth, week to week. I barely had enough money to rub together. I read a few spiritual books, so I thought, oh, well, you know, I'm sort of above all that physical stuff. I wasn't taking care of my body properly. I often saw it went hand in hand. If you're not paying attention to the physical aspect, then money, physical health, often your relationships can be a mess. But yet, I meditate every day, and I do my yoga and all this. So it's kind of like living a little bit like in denial, and in a split chasm. And then usually those people usually are draining people of energy. They're sucking them, they're bludgeoning, and they can barely pay their rent. And, you know, so that is not very spiritual, right? So I just wanted to make a point that we've got to we've got to realize that the spirit is imbued in our body, and spiritual is in the exchange of energy, of money and stuff like that. And we can't get too skewed into thinking that just because you believe that you're creating your own reality with thoughts, you actually are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
And so we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I think that, to all aspects. And that takes work, which a lot of people don't want to do.
It takes work, and yes. And I think that this cryptocurrency, the DeFi space, gives us an opportunity to actually face. This is an interesting thing, because it sometimes brings up fears, and it also forces us to change how, I mean, for some people, it actually forces them to look at how they deal with incoming new knowledge. Some people tend to block themselves off from the incoming knowledge, the new knowledge, and then they want someone to help them all the time. And so I think I think this cryptocurrency space gives us the opportunity to actually dive in and to take responsibility, because in the cryptocurrency space, you are your own banker, you are your own money owner, wallet owner, your password owner, security owner. So you have to actually take it's a huge responsibility, and that actually can well, it's a big mind shift, let me put it that way, and it's very challenging for a lot of people. And sometimes I don't understand it, but sometimes I do, and I do empathize that coming into the DeFi space is a big call, is a big challenge, and is a big opportunity. It's opportunity spiritually,
Totally agree with that. This is we have to step up, because we've often been irresponsible with money, irresponsible with our physical possessions and our wealth. And I find it's very encouraging. A lot of people that have been, well, certainly coming to us, are very spiritual people, and they're recognizing now that they have to do something. And so I think that is really cool. That's really quite interesting. I notice generally when I'm listening to videos or reading articles, or just generally what I hear, a lot of spiritual people are being drawn to crypto. And it's not just the people who, the traditional kind of entrepreneurs. It's bringing in all sorts of other people. The entrepreneurs are great. They've really kind of kicked the space off, but now it's dragging in lots of different people, not just techie people or entrepreneurs. Now it's, as you know from yourself, Gerald, the people that we're interacting with, just like here, we're just people who see what's going on in the bigger world and realize, oh my God, if I don't take responsibility now and protect my wealth, we're going to be in deep trouble.
Yes.
And that is not going to lead us to a very, well, could lead us, it could be a spiritual experience, right? But it's not one that we can choose now to take a better path.
Yes.
And the path that we're on now is a collective agreement that, because of irresponsibility, and we need to get back on track. And this means taking our power back. It means standing up for our rights and truth.
Yeah.
Otherwise, plans will be made on our behalf that won't be.
Oh, yeah. By default.
By default.
Someone is making a comment, and basically what they're saying is around trust, which is really interesting, because the whole blockchain idea is actually it was created as a solution to trust. How to create trust between two people who have no idea who they are, but they trust the system enough to pay each other or exchange goods and whatever it is. And so I think the idea of trust, and the other aspect of trust is trusting everyone else, is the consensus thing. So trust within, how did you say, trust within governance, right? How do we choose what we want for society or for government or for this organization? Well, blockchain and DeFi is actually trying to solve these problems of full consensus. And in fact, if you were talking about Hedera hash graph the other day, I was watching a video, and the idea of hash graph, which is a project and it's a token, is based on how to create perfect 100% consensus uh,
Yes.
immediately. And so you have 100% trust, 100% consensus. And once we solve those problems, well, Hashgraph claim they have, this is a huge, we don't realize how big that implication is for actually changing society and how and government and how society is organizes itself, because
Absolutely.
the whole lot of problems that we have, around crime, greed, blah 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 blah, is around lack of trust. So yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good comment you brought up there.
yeah, it certainly is. I used to love the Seth books, actually. Seth
Mm.
was one of the earlier ones that I read. Seth, Ramtha, uh, where both of them had big impact on me. And I always remember the Seth books. It sticks in my mind. So it's really good. But yeah, like what you say, Gerald, decentralization is solving the problem of misspent trust.
Mm.
In other words, just giving our trust away to outside to another party
Yeah.
without any due diligence, without any discretion, or without any um, discrimination is dangerous.
And
And
with
that's
lack of
done.
transparency. Yeah,
We've done
lack
because
of
we've
trans.
been conditioned. We've been
Yes.
brought up. Oh, you must trust your authorities, must trust the
Yeah.
elders,
Yeah.
trust those famous people, trust, trust, trust. But we don't have it. If we don't have it in ourselves, we're not really trusting. We've got to trust ourselves first, put our
Mm.
own oxygen mask on, and then the trust we give will be worthy of it.
Mm.
People have to be trustworthy. They have to prove themselves.
Mm.
And we have to prove to ourselves that we are trusted as well.
Yeah.
And
So
that's what you say. The code of decentralization helps. And Hedera is an amazing project. And I've invested in that because I believe Hedera, on the governance side of things, it's very powerful. And
mm.
it's superior code. And it will continue to get more, it'll evolve. This space is just beginning. It's going to evolve to eventually we will get the perfect inbuilt, evenly distributed system.
Yes. Yes.
It's still prone to being manipulated because those who hold the biggest amount of tokens can still tend to skew what happens for the rest of them. So that is a problem we're going to probably see uh,
Yes.
really soon. But at least it's a big step forward. And as we grow in consciousness, as we get more aware of life and what's happening in the world, we will never make the same mistakes again to the level. We'll never throw our pearls to swine like we have.
Yes. And as more people come on board, that will also, as millions or billions more people come on board, then that will tend to balance that, one-sidedness anyway.
Yeah,
So in the end, no matter how big a whale you are, you might not be able to move the water that much because there's so many other people in the pool.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. You've got to look at it on the amount of maybe tokens that they're holding versus the number of other people in the project.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think, okay. Well, any other questions or comments?
I just noticed with what Ray said too about she really locks her house, and
Rarely, rarely, yes.
really, but
Yes.
I think that it's in a place like where you live, Ray, that's probably you could do that. But
Okay.
there's a
Right.
there's a there's a saying from the Middle East related to
Oh,
the
something about camels.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Believe in God or believe in Allah, but tie down your camel.
Yes,
And
right.
I I think there's a lot of people who are not tying down their camel. You don't want to be going too silly because I think a lot of people get confidence or feel safe when they've done certain things on the physical level that makes them have that confidence to never be afraid or never have fear. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of just always, in the old days, we never used to lock our house when we lived in Torbay, in the North Shore of Auckland. We sometimes used to leave our front door wide open, go away for the weekend, and we never thought anything of it. But I think now in Auckland City anyway, I mean, I wouldn't want to ever leave my car unlocked in the city.
Uh,
Uh, I've had my car broken into and stolen a few times because I left it unlocked. Other cars that were locked didn't get touched, and so you know, but it's just again, it's a balance of
yeah. Yeah.
the mind
Having that
versus
trust.
emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and in their intuition is also very important there to guide you. But it's a matter of listening to your intuition and not your ego, and then knowing how to discern the difference. But anyway, that's yeah, that's
Okay.
probably a pretty
Well,
good for today.
yes. Well, thank you very much, everyone. And okay, yeah, just a couple of notices. On Sunday we are having Neil. Good on you, Ray. There's your intuition at work. Well, maybe it's not even a fear, right? Maybe it's just a gut feeling, and so maybe it hasn't even become an emotion. Yeah, but yes, we are always listening to ourselves. Well, I hope we are. I think that's the way to go. But on this Sunday, Neil is joining us, right? And Neil is he's one of the leaders in Eva Rich, and he will talk to us about UGPay. Is it UGPay or the
Well, he's
other way
going to talk
around?
to us about UGPay, Unitex, and Global Unit Pay, and
Yeah.
how they all knit together to create the ecosystem. People get
Yes. Yes.
confused about, well, it's a matter of seeing them as all have different roles in this play, just like any economy has different aspects of the system. We're
Yes.
creating our own self-contained system. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
And so it's
I
just
think.
a matter of understanding how it works and
Yeah.
also looking at the different aspects of it. For those who are not in it, we'll probably explain a bit more about that on the
Yeah.
day. But
Yeah.
it's almost there now. It's almost there. It's just a matter of regulation, conforming to the new regulations that are coming, and they want to play by the book there, so that we
Yeah.
can then truly get started. Otherwise, if
Sure. So
we've got
yes.
to start somewhere, and then
So,
we can
so
evolve.
then we are sure that we are doing something that's got the backing, that's got the legal backing, and all the got all our ducks in the row.
Yeah.
The other thing is on Wednesday we're also talking to a leader of Hyperfund. So these are all we're bringing in more and more as much as we can, people who have got really good experience, long experience within the projects or within whatever we invite them to talk about. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
about projects. It could be about blockchain, about particular currencies. Hopefully, we can get people who are really involved in moving and shaking the blockchain. But yes, Rhiannon Reese, so she's one of the leaders of Hyperfund, and she's been in it for 2 years. And her story is that 2 years ago she was living in a tent with a four-year-old boy, and she was saying, "What the heck," And she discovered, well, I'm not sure how long it took, but at some point she discovered Hyperfund, and now she is finding that Hyperfund has really changed her life. So I think it's good to hear from people who've had that experience and who can tell us exactly what it is that they've benefited from, and also how to optimize, if you are already on Hyperfund, how to optimize your Hyperfund activities so that you can get the most out of it. So yeah, please join us on Wednesday as well. So Sunday, Wednesday, and then Monday
at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. It's always 4 o'clock, and it's always recorded. It will always be recorded. And Tony will have a tutorial for the premium members. We'll let you know what Tony is going to show us on Monday. But yeah, if you're a premium member, you can come on Monday as well.
Yeah,
4 a.m. Yes, sorry. Yeah, 4 a.m. Alex. Yes, thank you very much.
Give a shout out to Alex. I really love that.
Yeah, and thanks for all chipping in every once in a while. It's good to hear from back on the other side.
Yeah, that's dedication. I love it.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much for being part of this. We really appreciate everyone for being with us. Okay, well, we better let you off and have a great weekend. And if I can find my sound out, where's my sound out? Sound levels, blah, blah, blah. Gee, yeah, here we go. So goodbye, everyone, and we'll talk to you next Friday.
Thanks for coming.
We'll let you know what's on Monday fairly soon, over the weekend. Okay, bye.
Bye.